Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all doing fantastically well. It's Connor here. We're back with another episode on One. Good morning, everybody. It's Connor. We're back here with another episode on One Leeds. Please check out the videos from the other day. They're doing fantastically well. And I know you guys are doing fantastically well. We've got loads coming up throughout the week. We've got live shows. We've got all that good stuff. And listen, I'm really excited for the week commencing. Loads of good Leeds United stuff. No pressure as well, really, right now. It's just content that you guys are just going to be enjoying, content that you guys are just going to be really sort of, embellishing on and all that sort of good stuff. We've got bonus bits on the Patreon if you want to have a look over there. Everybody, we've got Timbo, who's just joined. Shout out to you, Timbo. And yeah, make sure you click on over there, everybody. We've got additional bits with Oscar coming this week. We've got Generation Leeds. We've got Across the Pond being filmed today. Loads of bonus bits as well in terms of giveaways coming in the off season. So yeah, make sure you check out that. And there's also, everybody, new summer merch in the description below. Make sure you check it out. Okay, so let's get into it now. So the first discussion point of the morning is going to be Josh Sargent. Now, we spoke about this a while ago. I think it was at the start of the season. About the striker. We've spoken multiple times potentially about Daniel Farke looking at him. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of the season Kenny McLean, I mentioned Josh Sargent. Now, the reason I mentioned these two and potentially Daniel Farke going in for these two players at the very beginning was because Sargent was all Farke. All Farke. And a bit of background on that, you know, when they got him from, I believe it was Werder Bremen, Norwich, he was outside of Norwich's price range. Fact. Outside of Norwich's price range. Norwich don't really do what they did with someone like Josh Sargent. I think he was the record signing at like 8-10 million or whatever. But they didn't want to do it at the time. Weber didn't want to do it. And they stalled on it a little bit. And then Farke pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. They went and got Josh Sargent. If it was up to anybody else at the club, they wouldn't have done it. But listen, obviously they had to back the manager. They trusted the manager, and this was an 100% Daniel Farke signing. Now that context is massive. It's absolutely massive because if it was a sporting director signing, if we're looking at a Victor Orta conversation where he's gone out and got, for instance, a Brendan Aronson, which obviously we knew Bielsa liked back in the day, but Victor Orta was apparently gung-ho on him. If it was someone like that, you'd be able to say, look, it was a sporting director signing, wasn't a manager signing. The sporting director felt that he could acclimatise to any different manager, any different formation, yada, yada, yada. But this was a Farke signing. So this is why this picture becomes a lot clearer. According to several reports, I think Craig Hope spoke about it first, Leeds United will be in for Josh Sargent in the summer. Now, does this mean regardless? Well, what do we know about Norwich in general? Norwich are a selling club. They're a self-sustainable club. Delia Smith, Michael Wynne-Jones, obviously the backers there. And listen, they look to turn a profit quite quickly. When it comes to, young players being moved on and stuff, you're probably going to be looking at Johnny Rowe, but he's a homegrown player, so they're going to get a decent fee against the books when it comes to him. You've got other players there, Gabi Sara, who are probably going to be the interest of many Premier League club in the summer. So Norwich, in my opinion, do it quite well. Josh Sargent is going to be another one there where they're going to be probably looking at 20-25 million, which is going to be a 15 million quid profit. Now, a Leeds going to test the water a little bit with Norwich, probably. It does feel a lot of the time from the outside that Norwich are looking at some sort of financial gain. So obviously they bought Sargent for 8-10 million quid. Our Leeds in the Championship, if we do remain there, going to be able to afford Josh Sargent for a little bit more capital. Maybe, potentially, but highly doubtful. It would probably be dependent on what we were speaking about 2 weeks ago on how Leeds United go about this window. Are we going to be able to sell certain personnel and actually put that money into the transfer budget, or is that going to be put against the continuing instalments that Leeds United owe back to certain clubs for players? So that's going to be interesting to see. I personally think 10 to 12 million quid if you're in the Championship is going to be a lot for Leeds United to afford, to be honest, with the sort of overhanging financial obligation we have above us. But do I think Josh Sargent would be a good signing? I think Josh Sargent would be a really good signing. Championship, I think he'd be an excellent signing. we're all talking about Chris Somerville this season. We're all talking about, some of our players who've hit double digits when it comes to assists and goals. Josh Sargent has the best minutes to goal ratio in the Championship. He's also only played 25 games. He scored 16 goals and got 2 assists. That is an excellent ratio. He's been played in his proper position, which he was sort of when Farke left and Dean Smith came in. He wasn't played in his proper position. And now, obviously, so as soon as David Wagner's come in, he's got a really, really good tune out of Josh Sargent. So I think that's a really, really good standpoint. I think that's a really, really good point of view to look at when it comes to Leeds United approaching him. He can play in a front two. We've seen that with Barnes the other night. He can play in a front two. And essentially, I think his probably best position is within a 4-3-3 as well. We've seen Daniel Farke change up to that, this season as well. Obviously, the first leg of the Norwich game. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Leeds' other signings as well. If we do get to the Premier League, we're obviously going to get a big set of dough. So what are Leeds going to do? We were promised last time we went up there, we're going to pick the cream of the crop from Angus Kinnear, the cream of the Championship. We didn't do that. This time it looks like they're probably going to learn from those mistakes, because it gives Leeds a bit of assurance and insurance that if we went down the following season, which is very, very likely when you look at statistics and teams coming straight back down, it means that you've got the cream of the crop of the Championship, so you're probably going to go straight back up. That's how I think football club owners will look at it. But it was interesting, obviously, with the 49ers saying that there isn't going to be a fire sale in the summer as well. It's going to be 1 in, maybe 2 in, and then 1 in and 2 out. So probably, if I'm speculating right now, if we were to remain in the Championship, Somerville and Nonso, and then maybe a Sargent and another coming in. Now, would that be preferential? Would that be, beneficial to Leeds United? Potentially, yeah. I mean, you are dropping mass quality there when you look at Somerville to, let's say, a Josh Sargent. I'm not saying that's going to be the direct replacement, of course. This is just me speculating. And it's a very hypothetical scenario, but I think that's probably maybe the drop-off that you're going to see when it comes to quality and Leeds remaining in the Championship. We're not going to get a player of Chris Somerville's level if he is to go, or even of Willie Nyonso's level if he is to go. Probably the two likelihoods to leaving the summer if we remain in the Championship. And then someone like a Sargent coming in probably makes a lot of sense. But will he move to another Championship club, and will Leeds spend that sort of money, which they're going to have to spend on a Josh Sargent who's still young? He's developed massively this year, and probably in a year's time he's going to get a lot of other clubs looking at him as well. I think what you've got with Sargent is a player who is young and raw, and yes, still doesn't have that next level ability right now, but I think there is serious potential with Sargent. I really do. I think his work ethic, I think his endeavour, his energy, 100% is Premier League level, but those things aren't going to win you Premier League matches. He's excellent in a press. We've all seen that. He's always a problem, always a big, big problem. And I think over the last year, he's even developed massively from where he was, where you're looking at Sargent and going, absolutely no way, bit of a donkey. But when he's been playing in his actual proper position, when he's had a manager who evidently believes in him quite a bit, I think it's an absolute obvious one that if Leeds even were to go into the Premier League, is it someone who you go after with other signings in and around him? I think, yeah, 100%, just with his potential. I think even his technical ability is elevated this season. Some of his finishes have been exquisite. But, in those moments, like we saw the other night, those clutch moments, I should say, where he's got to put it away against Leeds United. I actually think that was actually a decent lob, a decent chip, but Melee just stood tall and strong and made a decent save there. He's got to develop those sort of fine bits, but overall, I think it'd be a really, really good signing, regardless of the level for Leeds United. So I'm all on board with Josh Sargent. Liam Cooper, apparently there is a decision to be made at the end of the season with the Leeds United captain, which is fascinating. A decision is said to be made on his future. How Leeds are going to go about this is going to be so interesting. If we remain in the Championship, presumably he's probably going to get offered maybe a 1-year deal. I don't know. If we go up to the Premier League, it's likely that, the loss is going to be cut with Leeds United. Thanks so much for your service, Liam, and we'll see you on the other side. Is he going to get a coaching role at Leeds? Potentially. Does he think he can still play? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But fascinating to see how that one's going to develop as well with Liam Cooper, because, yeah, very, very interesting. And what I wanted to pick up on as well was Carlos Corberan. And Corberan was speaking the other night on his West Bromwich Albion side, and he was speaking post the Southampton game, and he kept referencing transitions. And I thought it was really poignant because Leeds were hit on serious transitional moments with Southampton, and I think that midfield is something that obviously Corberan was speaking about in his post-match press conference, and said, Southampton fully deserved the win over the 2 legs. And he kept talking about the transitions, and it almost felt like a warning to Leeds United. Look, watch out about the transitions. And it's, that midfield breaking out. I think every one of that midfield is above 6 foot. Flynn Downs, Will Smallbone, Joe Rebo, Rothwell. I think they're all above 6 foot. Maybe Rothwell's a little bit smaller. They're a physical team. They're athletic as well, which is naturally going to aid transition. And it's going to be so interesting to see how Daniel Farke is going to combat that. Can you really combat it with the midfield two of Gruev and Kamara? Listen, they did a great job the other night. And I actually think their midfield presence was so much better than what it was against Gabi Sara, what it was against McLean in the home leg, the home game, I should say, the 1-0 win against Norwich in the Championship. It was much better. It was much more dominant. Kamara was much more forceful. He was physical as well. He was putting himself about. But how do Leeds combat a midfield which is a lot stronger than Norwich's? A lot stronger than Norwich's, and a lot more combative and technically able as well. There's a lot of players in there that can cause Leeds physical issues in the transition. So it's going to be fascinating to see if Leeds go to a 3, if Leeds go to a 2 in the midfield. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, everybody. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'll see you on the other side. We'll be back with another video very shortly, I'm sure. But also, we've got the debrief this week. We've got something with Ellis Platten. We've got a show with Brownie as well on Thursday, and there's all your good stuff coming up on the lead up and the preview to Leeds United in the playoff final versus Southampton. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, everybody. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'll see you in a bit.